Other than to say how devastating and how messed up are the priorities, right? Because we have this false dichotomy where we're having a female accuser talking about this person who has raped them and presenting it in that way. And then we take it and we step back and we say, okay, the scales of justice, what's the burden of proof? Let's find some evidence. And that's the way our legal system is set up, and that's more or less the way that it ought to be. But we create this completely false equivalency between this idea of being accused of rape and this situation of actually being raped.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't necessarily planning on sharing this story tonight, but one of the defining experiences of my adolescence was a very false accusation by a romantic partner of physical assault and abuse. And that didn't happen, but it was a really damaging experience for me, and it sucked. And to all of the mothers that are concerned about their 14-year-old boys being accused of these sorts of things, I recognize that, yeah, it sucks. However, it is so rare that is happening. It is not a common experience. I mean, it's very hard to quantify these kinds of things, but you can do some research, and there are numbers out there that are reasonably verifiable. Most of them range between 2 and 10% of all men will at some point be accused falsely of some form of sexual assault or abuse, rape being included in that umbrella. Maybe as many as 5% of all men will at some point face some sort of false accusation. That sucks. That's not great.
And it can be traumatizing. I want to acknowledge
problematic.
That.
It sucks.
Yeah.
However, something like 1,000% of all women will experience some form of sexual harassment, and in the back of their mind, no matter how gentle or not the worst it could be that experience might be for them, there is a strong conceptualization that it could very quickly escalate and nothing's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's a very strong reality for all women living in America right now, and very much more so 30, 40 years ago. And so it is deeply ingrained in our cultural subconscious and just completely defining to, I have to assume, the experience of being a woman at any age right now, even if you have never gotten anywhere close to, and I don't think that that's likely true of damn near any woman I could interview, but even if I could find a woman who had never been directly affected by any form of harassment, assault, or quid pro quo, these various ways of patriarchal power coming down on them, they've, at the very least, always had that fear in the back of their minds. And it has affected their actions. It has affected their comfort. It has affected their basic sense of calm and decency in almost every professional, social, romantic, personal choice that they've made. Am I off base here?
No.
Not at all.
When I go into a restroom, I'm not afraid of transgender folk. I'm afraid of there being a man in the stall, and I don't know a woman who just waltzes right into a public restroom. You open the door and check.
You look.
You always do.
And ever since the 90s, you also look in the toilet to make sure there's not a camera.
Yeah, this is true. Let's see, what else? We lock our cars. We walk to our cars with our keys between our fingers.
Yep, like brass knuckles.
Yeah, the front door is always locked. We are constantly concerned about what's going on around us. Walk at night, that's just, forget it.
I mean, and if you do, you
gotta
are
be
constantly.
With somebody. Oh,
well,
God,
no.
I'm terrified.
If you're by yourself, you are. If you are wearing earbuds, you're not actually listening to anything.
Right.
You are listening to the world around you to tell you if there is a scrape, if there is a movement somewhere, behind you, beside you, in front of you.
Yeah. I walk with a friend. Well, it hasn't happened for a while because sleep is important to me right now. But she gets up very early, and I meet her and we walk. The only reason I can walk in the dark to meet her is because I have my dog. And even then, I'm constantly watching.
Because you know it's not necessarily the best guard dog ever.
Right, yeah. She's loud, but she's sweet. Yeah. But, it's a different world. It's a very different world. If a man pisses people off, they'll say, oh, he's an asshole, and he's a da-da-da-da-da-da-da. And if a woman pisses people off, I'm going to come and I'm going to do horrible things to you. It's not the same world for us. When I decided to become a public figure in atheism, I had to think really hard about it because I have friends who have gone through hell because they're female and they're active in this. And it's I just hope I can keep doing this.
For me, it was not to become a personality, as they say on Discord, was not a difficult decision for me, but there was some thought. Thankfully, I do not have any family close to me, distance-wise. And the friends I've made at the ACA and at work, and, a few others out there. But generally speaking, I don't have, and this is little insight to you guys out there, what we think about. Not just if we can be hurt, but who else can be hurt.
Yeah, I had to wait until my kids were old enough that I could ask them what their feelings were on it, and they'd be old enough to really understand what that meant. And my husband's involved too. He's been harassed because of my being active in this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, just the simple experience that you and I have had on this show, Megan. I mean, here I am. I mean, we're both shockingly good looking. I think that's, equally so. I mean, somewhat less equal over there, but we're both gorgeous.
Yeah,
clearly.
I chose to get rid of my hair. Thank you very much. And for the record, more than one person in the chat is currently commenting on how adorable and cute my hair is right now.
It is super cute and adorable, but that's kind of exactly my point, because we've been doing this show for a minute, and here I am, this guy, male pronouns, all of that, with my painted fingernails and my long hair
is
and
excellent.
my girly name and all of these things. And you know what? Not a lot of pushback, not a lot of problem. No one's really got an issue.
Commented.
Yeah, and if you dive into the YouTube comments, there's more than one person that has expressed things towards you that have not been expressed towards me.
I've had the
and
same thing.
I hate to shine a spotlight on that, but I mean, here we are doing the same show, the same way. Yep. Again, equally gorgeous. And yet the reaction is very different, because the socially acceptable reaction, the range of acceptable reactions, is very different for men. Men are allowed to do things, and I say allowed with the broadest, vaguest conceptualization of the word. Yeah. We can get away with absolutely things that women can't and don't. And we can talk about how the biology is different and the experiences are somewhat different. And there is something to that, but regardless of your predilections, regardless of your biology, regardless of your desires, etc., you're fucking responsible for your actions. Yeah. Whether you have an X chromosome or not, whether you have a Y chromosome rather, those are choices that you're making, and you don't get to say it was the testosterone. Yeah,
right. I mean, the testosterone. Sure, you can get horny, but
I can and I do.
Okay, well, good.
I do, and I will.
For you.
I do too. So
but that.
But you're not making that a problem for me.
That does not alleviate any responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we've come down pretty firmly on this show, on this idea that what passes between your ears, the thoughts that you have, the emotions that you experience, those are yours. You don't need to apologize for them. It's fine. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, great. Whatever you say, and whatever you do, you will be held accountable for.
Yep. Thus, the Me Too, which is so good because women are finally saying, you should be held accountable. We're not a lot of us are not being quiet anymore.
No, and nor should we. For all of you women out there.
But
and men too,
yeah.
who fit into
Right.
the Me Too mold.
Yeah.
Mold.
That's my bad. Yeah, yeah. Men get raped too. A 1 in 10
They do, and they
rapes
get
is
not
men
just
being
raped; they also get assaulted. But by and large,
Our society isn't set up where men are thinking about it a lot like women are in
Right.
terms of how they live their lives and
their day-to-day actions.
There's a shock factor to it when a man experiences it, which is
For sure.
not necessarily to say that the experience is qualitatively easier, but it does mean that there is not all of the horror and dread leading up to, which can directly affect
Or
the
expectation.
experience of it. Because if you are dreading that something's going to happen and then it happens, there's a part of your brain that is genetically designed to say, well, fucking I knew it. I knew this was going to happen, and now it's probably going to happen again all of the time. And that dramatically changes the way that you experience that situation versus something that just sort of swoops in as an act of God, as the insurers say, to surprise you.
Hashtag victim blaming. Because victims can also blame themselves.
oh yeah. Some of women's worst enemies are themselves and other women, for that matter. I was surprised with the Kavanaugh Ford thing about how many women were completely on Kavanaugh's side.
It's
I know it was
remarkable.
few, but it should have been zero.
It's still remarkable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the men who didn't find her testimony credible, they picked it apart and so forth. I'm thinking, oh boy, those are the folks who need to listen to women, because I'm telling you, everything that she did, that she talked about, is exactly the sort of way it is. You don't remember the day. I don't remember the day and the date and the whatever of when I was date raped. I can tell you other details quite vividly. And it happened, 30-something years ago. That doesn't mean it's not valid. It doesn't mean that you can say that, I'm just, I might have thought it up, or you're dead damned wrong. And last Godless Bitches we had, or a couple Godless Bitches ago, we had
That's a phrase that I've just always wanted to professionally be associated with.
hashtag-
A
And there
couple
you
of
go.
godless bitches ago.
You're welcome.
Hashtag godless bitches.
Yes, Godless Bitches.
Heyo.
Woo. Yeah, the peach is in front of my lips, which is really, 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 I win.
Sorry, the fact
Okay.
that the peach is in front of your lips is
In front of my
too-
lips.
too good.
Okay, so
Okay.
what was I going to say? Oh, Leanne Cameron came on to our show. She is an expert in sexual trauma, and she did an amazing job of explaining why women don't come forward, what trauma does to a person, and all of the things that people have a fundamental misunderstanding of when it comes to sexual trauma. She was amazing, and you should get her on this show because she was great.
See godless bitches.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's a good show, if I do say so myself. She used to work at Safe Place, now Safe Alliance, I think, and just experience galore.
Forgive me, I don't want to misspeak. I know I work in mental health here in Austin, Texas, where the Safe Alliance is a big part of what we refer to. Is this a national organization that
It's
people should be
local.
looking for, or just local?
It's local,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
To Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
FYI.
Yeah, it's a great organization. It shelters women, and I suppose men too, who need a safe place to stay from an abuser or
Whatever
dangerous.
situation they may be running from.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, really great, smooth fucking segue into the history of Me Too. I have in front of me a timeline that I'd like to go over a little bit with you guys, just to give you a little background. We've all lived it and we've all experienced it, but maybe we did not realize exactly the timing of events.
Well, and it's important to remember how we got here.
Yes.
Because it does feel very muddled at this point. And that's okay. I don't feel like it's fair to level the accusations against the Me Too movement that have maybe been constant criticisms of like Occupy Wall Street and then Black Lives Matter after it. Of, well, there's no clear message and there's no clear leadership. And that's not how grassroots movements are meant to operate. The idea here is that women are screaming, and regardless of the exact agenda, what we're trying to do is draw attention to something. And I feel like that can get really lost over the course of time because it's very easy to dial down the volume on the frustration and start to ask, okay, well, so what? So what? So what? When the so what is, if you're just aware, if you just think about the fact that these things are happening, then the what to do about it will start to become pretty obvious.
Yeah, right. If you're paying attention.
If you're paying attention.
All right, Miss Mega Woman. That's what I call her.
She does.
Mega Woman.
And I love it. It makes me feel more powerful.